Louder? Good afternoon?
Good afternoon.
You people are very weak over here. So, did everybody go to lunch?
Yes.
I did it. And I hope you feel sorry for me. I get really mean when I'm hungry. Again, you should have brought me something. Some of you have asked me about my books, and I said earlier that I brought 3 titles, I can only sell 1, and there's only 3 copies of it. But please keep in mind, it's in a bookstore, and if you bring it to me, I'll sign it, but it's in a pen name. And I use 7 different pen names, and likely you've read some of my stuff and don't even realize it, because I do write for Red Book and Women's Day and People in Us in Parade. But it's under Nan D. Vincent Hayes, and D. Vincent is just an abbreviation. So I wrote about it, and I used a pen name, and I used her maiden name, Bonanno, and she never saw it. So this is my background, and I'm so pleased that many of you have attended all 4 of my lectures, my 4th lecture here. There's one more after this. It's on the sea day coming back, and it's on essentially on the 1985 Mexican earthquake. And so it talks about volcanoes and earthquakes. I have a PhD. I went to College Park, however, I started at the University of Pittsburgh, finished it up at College Park, Maryland. We moved to Maryland. And I have a master's degree in research and educational administration. I'm a professor, former college department chair. You could tell that I like to be in front of people. But you know what? I love what I do, and I do it with a passion. And I love people. So I don't know if you notice, I mean, I go around and socialize probably more than I work. And I have a master's degree in science and research, particularly bioresearch, and a bachelor's in chemistry and biology. Actually, when I was getting ready to go to college, my father, and he passed away a year after I started college, said to me, he says, what do you want to do? I said, I want to be an author. And he looked at me and he said, I'm not going to put you through college for that. Don't you understand how to make a living? So I majored in science. I earned my certification at the University of Rochester and Middlebury College. I'm originally from Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh. I told some of you that. I'd go back in a heartbeat. It's a beautiful, beautiful city. And when we moved to Maryland, I took one of my rooms, which was a rec room, and I painted it black and gold, and Steeler border all around, and Steeler memorabilia. And our daughters married Marylanders who are Ravens fans. We do not let them in our house when the Steelers play. Okay, we're going to talk today about blood sacrifices, and I'm going to kind of bring you up to that, but it's going to be pretty much an overview because going into detail takes a lot of time. And I mentioned to you earlier that we believe the Aztecs came from America and that they made their way down to Mesoamerica. The name Aztec incorporates several different groups of people who are Nahuatl-speaking people. And I also mentioned to you it's one of the most difficult languages to speak, Aztec. Their biggest area that they lived was in Tenochtitlan. They say part of their TLs as cl, cl. And this is essentially what it looked like. And the Aztecs were comprised of the Olmecs, the Toltecs, and a couple other different groups. This was essentially their features. These were not, I know it's been pictured that these are very, very tall people, but they were not. They were very strong people. They absorbed into their religious beliefs their mythologies, which we talked about this morning, so I'm not going to waste your time going back through it again. But the mythologies, I've said to you how important it is. They're very similar from culture to culture to culture. And one of the things that I do try to stress to all of you who are listening to me, I'm not trying to persuade you to think the way I do. I don't do that. I try to give you the facts that I have researched and I have verified and checked and double-checked and presented to you and say to you, look, this is what I discovered. Now, you know, you can take whatever you want of it, you can take it all, you can reject it all. But open your minds. That's what I'm asking you to do. Just open your minds. That's how you learn. That's how you survive. You don't have to agree with me. And I hope that a lot of you don't agree with me, because that's what makes that whole vibration go back and forth, when you're able to sit down and discuss it and, you know, debate it and critically think your way through. But part of the thing that goes on in mythology is this search. And that's what I'm putting you on, a journey. And I'm asking you to take this journey with me, just as Jung and Campbell and all the other ones have done, and come out and see what you think of it.
Did you ever study the connection, to see if there was a connection between the Hopi story of creation and the fact that they think people came up on the center of the earth, went south, northeast, and west, and perhaps tied into these people?
Well, they're all interrelated. The thing that, I was talking to somebody about this earlier, and I don't want to spend too much time on this, but one of the things that we found about the Amerindians was that through time, many of the tribes were absorbed. They warred among themselves, actually. And some tribes took over other tribes, and they called them they made them their tribute cities, so they had to pay a tribute to them. If you look at all of the mythology, the Hopi creation, the Incan, the Maya, you look at all of them, they're all similar. What is different is what they call what happened, the person that's involved in it, the travel that's involved in it, but it's essentially the same. When I go through this today about the blood sacrifices, you should walk away and say to yourself, I think that's similar to something that I know. This was their major city. It was built from essentially a swamp that had been formed. Population in this particular area was 200,000, which is larger than what would be the equivalent of Seville. The government was a monarchy. The historical period was pre-Columbia and established around 1325, defeated 1525, behind, of course, Cortez. And the size, it shows you here, is between 8 and 13 and a half square kilometers, and it was located in the Texcoco Lake. So this is the people that we're especially referring to today. This here is one of the ruins that is still in existence in the Yucatec area, and we understand that some of that is surrounding where Mexico City is. Now look if you see Mexico City today, compared to what you saw on some previous slides, because we're talking essentially the equivalency here. Mexico City is made up of both the Tlatelolco and the Tenochtitlan. I said, anybody who would like to pronounce those words, I will treat you to a meal in the cafeteria here on the ship. This was their layout. This is one of their ruins. Mesoamerica. Now, I put 3 different maps up here to show you the difference. Here, essentially, where the Maya were, and this color here, the orangey color, is where the Aztecs were. Well, this is a close-up. And here you can see again some important people. We have the Oaxaca here. This is what we call the models of communication, and actually they are the same model, and I'm going to start here so you see it. Here is a person who sends a message. Can I use you as a volunteer? Come on. I need another volunteer at this end. Don't come near each other, okay? All right. Am I a challenge to you? No, so interpretation is another thing. So he encodes a message. She started out by saying, I better say something to this guy who I don't know, and I don't know what to say. And what if he's of another culture? And I say something about his culture without realizing that I have done that. And how's he going to react?
So he sends him a message. He encodes it first, down here and here. He puts his words together. And you know, especially on a cruise ship, we are, in fact, you know, look what he said back to you. And he said, thank you, and you see, already, gone. And a lot of that is because now their concentration has left from what their initial message was to essentially thinking about, okay, this is what I'm saying. So nobody's putting everyone, you have a new plan. So wasn't there a pause in your mind when you said, oh my God, I don't want to interpret that. Maybe he wasn't even talking about that kind of sex. Well, maybe he was referring to something else. I don't know. But let's